when it goes back to the POP, it also means it's going back to the United States Department of Treasury, who is ultimately tracking this, and I believe the Secret Service. So let's just go ahead and whip this out and get it done with, because we're almost done here. This is still years 5 through 10 continuing, but we were able to jump because all them jobs that we talked about the first time around, all them careers, they're secure. They're still there. People are working. We're on years 5 to 10. Those people have had their jobs and careers for 4 years. That money's still coming in. We didn't need to change anything. Well, not really, but we're going to, and we have been a little bit. Just slightly, and as the kids saw, definitely for the better, as the teachers saw for the better. Now let's go to the Energy Self-Sufficiency Project. Taking 10% off the federal government's 15%. The federal government taking 15% of the total pie, number 10, LIP's projected annual revenue. LIP's projected annual revenue, let's fly through it, is $125,531,250,000. 15% of that is $18,829,687,500. Of that, TESS is going to take 10%, or 1,882,968,750 jobs, right there, or $50, right there for the purpose of creating energy self-sufficiency throughout America. Basically, what's happening now is that you're going to see the solar and wind programs tying together with Eco Village Training Center, and we're getting really on a national level. Once again, now that we're at 5 to 10, we're in some cases we're consolidating. In other cases, we're disaggregating, to quote former Secretary George Shultz. I really like the way you put that, George. Okay, administration ETC, they're going to take 0.5%. Administration United States Department of Energy is going to take 0.5%. So each one of them is going to take $9,414,843.75 for the purposes of administration. Don't want to hear it cost you a fortune and all this other stuff. You got damn near $10 million to count the money with. So at any rate, labor materials. DOE, it's where the money's heading, $169,467,187.50, or 9% of that 10% budget. Then we're looking at land acquisition by the ETC, $188,296,875%, or 10% of that 10%. Then building materials for the ETC, building industry, you should love me. $188,296,875, or 10% of that 10%. Then test the reality, and let's keep in mind here. The big reality here is, where's that star right there? Even though the DOE is getting their stuff, it's all under the command of the ETC. The ETC is leading the plans. As you'll see later on in the Acts of Providence on Pi 10, we'll be getting there pretty soon here. Eventually, ETC, it all goes back to the Department of Energy. It's not like you own the nation's energy supply. What's going to happen is that the ETC is going to create it, implement it, get it maintained, get people trained to handle it and all that stuff. And then in a couple of decades down the road, thereabouts a decade down the road, then we go back to the Department of Energy controlling things. We'll get to it. So the reality, making tests a reality. $1,318,000,000, all controlled by the ETC, $78,125, or 70% of that 10%. Here we go. First part, Part A, mini mart acquisitions for ethanol. There's mini marts all over the nation that have gone out of business. I see them all the time. I've thought about it many times. We can utilize these mini marts not only to disperse ethanols, and they're federally owned. We will be in direct competition with the other gas companies to disperse ethanols that we're going to create, but also to work as co-ops to disperse all that farm food that we're going to be creating as well, using it the ETC grow an organic way. So there's new options for people. Did you know that people get less sick in the UK off their food? In the UK, off of their food than they do here in America. And the reason is because their foods are generally grown locally. So these will work as a co-op federal gas station, if you will. And every year this money's coming in. In this case, they'll get the budget of $263,615,625. And as we know, that money had better not be going to commissions. That money had better not be going to research and all this other stuff at the facility. We're not going to have it die in baffled administrative BS. That money is going directly to purchasing these facilities. I know you understand. You've already got your admin fees up here, and you've got plenty of crews coming in, and we trust the ETC, but they'll still be subject to audit. At any rate, ethanol refinement is Part B, another $263,615,625, or 20% of that 70%. What this means is, of course, we're going to go out and get all them GMO corns. Everything that's GMO, we're going after. That's the first thing being burnt and turned into fuel and sent away. If it can be proven safe, that it's safe to burn and put in the air. There ought to be a study on that, if anything. But at any rate, brewing materials, you name it, and this also goes towards purchasing massive amounts of storage bins. You know, the big cylinder things in the Midwest that they keep all this stuff in. Actually, they keep out here too. Just can't find the big tanks. So in here, you've got the idea. What we're doing is nationwide, every year, acquiring more and more and more. Over a period of a few years, I did the numbers on it, it came out to like 20,000 gas stations owned over a period of like 10 years or something, based on a cost of whatever, 500, I don't remember. At any rate, you guys crush the numbers. How much could you buy with that? Especially in the Midwest and places where the property is way low. And we're up here in Seattle. Let me tell you, the market is not as bad as it is in the rest of the country. So, we're going to spend another Part C, $263,615,625, or 20%, buying that corn, buying all that stuff, so that we can throw it into the refinement process, so that we can get it down to the gas stations. Then we come into number D, 10% of that is $131,807,812.50. Welcome back to the windmill program. The same amount, 131 mil plus, goes to the solar power program. Told you they didn't change. They just added to test. And if I remember right, they even added a little bit more money there as well. So now we're actually employing more people than ever. It's just that I didn't show that in my original numbers. I didn't bother to crunch it all out because, you know, it's time consuming to do this. You guys should be happy that I showed up with 1 million jobs, much less 2 or 3 million. So at any rate, how do we normally do this? Here's how we do it. Labor Pals, $263,615,625, or 20% of that 70% shall go to labor. Once again, Part 1 is no loans owing $15 per hour. Loans owing $20 per hour, with half of it going to those who own those loans. So, like Fannie Mae. And then 3 is the jobbies, or are the jobbies. Once again, 50% will go to the students at $12.50 an hour. $39,542,343.75. And a reminder, all this is you earn college credits for it because you're working for the ETC. They're teaching you. So these kids are expanding on their education. Okay, 40% goes to the grads at $15 an hour, brings them into 31,633,875 jobs. How many that calculated out to, I don't remember, but you guys should remember from the last chapter if you really want to. Bottom line is, there's jobs and there's careers. And you're talking working for these people full time because they have plenty of work to do. Building windmills, building solar panels, buying mini marts, converting them, doing the ethanol thing. There's plenty of work. I'm sure that ETC can find all sorts of stuff for you to do. So can the Department of Energy, cleaning up all that atomic mess of theirs. So 10% goes to room and board for the students, not for the grads. And that includes transpo, everything else. A reminder, all funds are held by the POF until it is absolutely time to disperse them. There are no interests earned on the funds for the said holders.